So I think it's about time for us to go live. I just want to
Okay.
say welcome to everyone who's joining us. This is Steve again from Liberty Tours, doing yet another one of our travelogues as part of our keeping people's travel dreams alive. It's great to hear that Australia is now coming to some degree out of lockdown, and also the news from around the world is fantastic. Many countries in Europe are starting to lift their constraints. Now, we've got to be really clear about this. Unfortunately, that doesn't mean that we'll be travelling anytime soon, because the world isn't really a safe place just yet. But that doesn't stop us talking about it and planning and thinking of all the things that we love. So far on this series of travelogues, we've been to Israel, to the Holy Land, which is fantastic. We went to Nepal. We spoke to Ram, who's a mountaineering guide there, and his beautiful wife, who looks after all the guests as they go off either to do. In fact, Nepal is a place that is fantastic for its flowers and its wildlife. Well, when I say flowers, all of its flora and its fauna. Another place we've been to last week, we went to Sri Lanka. And today, our travelogue, we're coming back home because it's Mother's Day tomorrow, to do Gardens in Bloom. And I'm going to be joined by Kirsty Noble, who's a fantastic person with subject matter expert. We'll introduce her in a couple of moments. But first, I just want to talk about, with Liberty Tours, this slide says who we are, because we have a set of values that we go through as a business to centre ourselves, and as well as being totally committed to offering irresistible travel opportunities that light up the lives of our clients. Now, our values, our first value is we are explorers. We're always seeking another place, another adventure, another way. And so that really that's all it's about. But first, I want to join welcome Kirsty Noble to join us. Kirsty, I'm going to turn off the sharing here for a moment. If I can find turn off my screen sharing for a moment. If I can find the controls up here. It's all very complex, this technology. It beats me every time. No. Oh, here we are. No, I'm going to leave it the way it is. I was going to put Kirsty's face on the screen big, but it's all.
Oh no, don't do
here
that.
It is. Here it is. If I go screen, hang on, I'll get there. Stop sharing. There we are.
There we go.
So now it should be Kirsty. So,
hi everyone.
Kirsty, your background, you've lived all over the world. You take people everywhere. Tell our guests a little bit about you.
Sure. I'm one of those very lucky people who gets to do what they love. And for me, that's combining my two loves, which are travel and gardens. So I'm a horticulturalist. This is sort of a different life. I used to do something else before I was a gardener, and then I became a gardener, and I worked here in Sydney, and then I have always loved traveling. And I went and lived in Buenos Aires in Argentina, for 18 months. And I set up a little tour business there called Buenos Aires Boutique Tours. So that was really fun. And then I moved up to the United States to New Jersey, to North America. And I spent the last 10 years there in North America. So very much still focused on gardens and travel. I managed gardens, but I also set up my own little garden tour business. So very similar to Ross Garden Tours, who I work for now. I was doing it on a much smaller scale because it was just me over in New Jersey. So it was a lot of fun. So I came back to Australia in August and pretty much just started up with Ross Tours since then. So I'm really fortunate. I mean, for me, it's absolutely my dream job, Steve. So it's fantastic.
Yeah. Actually, you were talking a little bit about the team there at Ross Garden Tours. I was just going to put their picture back on once again, if I can find the controls. Look, I'm going to stop doing this in a minute. It's driving me nuts. Hang on. if I share again. there they are. If it will be when I click on the right button, share. There we are. There's that's
there we
the
go.
team now.
Okay, oh,
So
this
tell
is
us a bit
perfect,
about the
actually.
team.
This is great. And it's wonderful working for Ross Garden Tours. Ross Garden Tours was started by Graham and Sandra Ross. Now, Graham is sort of kneeling at the front with the shirt and tie. Sandra is in that snappy, stripy suit to my left, or Graham's left. And together they started their business 40 years ago. And so this is actually their 40th year of taking people all around the world visiting gardens. And they have absolutely merged their passion for gardens and travel. Many people probably know Graham. He's quite the personality here in Australia, and he does fantastic things for the garden communities on 2GPs, on Better Homes and Gardens. And so he has just some wonderful contacts, and together they've created this wonderful business. Their daughter Linda is on the right there, and she's in the orange dress. And so she's an integral part of the team. And so, yeah, together. And then the other people that you see are tour guides like myself, and they are amazing people in their own right. So I'm actually based with my other team, tour travel mates, but the other people on the screen that you see are really super duper gardeners in their own right. There's garden designers, there's national magazine editors, there's lecturers, there's a radio personality there. I mean, they're just super. So they all come on and take different tours with us, and each of them have developed quite their own following, I have to say. Yeah. So it's really lovely. It's very inspiring to be surrounded by such talent, I can tell you.
Isn't it wonderful just traveling around the world doing what you love to do?
Oh, it really is.
I mean, that's the same for me, because my background, I traveled the world for 40 years working as a consultant to national and international businesses and that sort of thing. And so travel has always been a part of my life. But the last few years since I was invited to be the managing director of Liberty Tours, I mean, working in a job where my job is to help people bring their dreams alive and just to make people happy, it's awesome.
It really is.
Why have we got chrysanthemums on? Well, because in Australia, chrysanthemums are the symbol of Mother's Day, really, aren't they?
They really are. Yeah. So they're a beautiful flower.
Yeah. There's a special. My mother actually died this year. I'm old, so she was even older. So I won't be seeing her this Mother's Day, but I'll certainly be thinking of what she brought to me in my life. Yeah. But it's really important at this early stage of the webinar just to remind people that one lucky listener is actually going to get some flowers tomorrow to get to their mother. Now, through the marvels of technology, often on these things, the computers try and tell us where our listeners are from. But on this occasion, I've actually got no idea where our people are from. So when we select a lucky winner towards the end of this, we'll send them an email straight away, find out where you're from, whereabouts you'd like the flowers to go to, and the message you'd like on there. And if you're very, very lucky, and if we can find a florist who'll deliver them at such short notice, we'll make sure that we get them to some special mother in your life tomorrow. And if not, it'll be the first thing as soon as the florists are working on Monday morning. And so let's go on and now actually get into the other thing I was going to say to people, to our participants, is let us know where you're from. Kirsty wants to know where everyone's from, so she can talk about so we can talk about gardens in your area, and it's just interesting for us. So everyone will find on their meeting controls, there's somewhere on your page you should find a little Q&A button. So if you put your questions in there, they'll come through to us. If you have any gardening questions and you want to put her on the spot, you can do that. I want to know because I haven't got a proper garden apart from sand at my place. But we won't dwell upon that. Let's just get on with the slideshow, and oh, here's someone from Marrickville already, Jetty. Oh, Jetty's one of our regular customers. She's travelled the world with us.
Oh, nice.
Jetty went to Sri Lanka.
Oh,
And
wow.
had a wonderful time. And in fact, last week she was sending us messages actually talking about the botanical gardens in one of the major towns called Kandy, which she loved and spent a lot of time in. So it's great to have you here, Jenny. So I'm going to stop talking now and hand over to Kirsty to take us through some of these beautiful gardens.
Oh, sure. Well, thank you so much, Steve. I mean, I'll just sort of talk to the picture first and just tell you a little, because of course, like everyone, we are adapting to this new life that we have, because usually, in all honesty, I would be in the United States. I would not be here at the moment, because spring for us is an incredibly busy time. By this stage, last year, we had 3 Japan tours going to Japan to celebrate, you know, all the spring blooms, the cherries, all the wisteria there. It's just gorgeous. We would have already departed for England. Graham and Sandra were scheduled to be in the United States. So, of course, things are changing. So we are adapting with that. And so what I thought I would do today is talk to you a little more about what's local, because as Steve said, we're keeping our dreams alive, our travel dreams alive. So when we can travel abroad, that we will certainly all be doing that. But it is much more likely that we'll be able to travel more locally. So, and I'm actually a big fan of local travel, because for me, it's about what's in your own backyard. And I absolutely love it. And so I actually wanted to do a little about this great New South Wales trip. And we run that in September, sort of the last week in September into early October. And it's an 11-day trip, and it celebrates all the spring flower festivals in New South Wales. I did it for the first time with Sandra. I was so lucky. I just love traveling with her. She's so much fun, and she just knows these gardens. So yeah, this is a really fun trip. We go down to Bowral Gardens down there, then we head down to Canberra to Floriade, then out to Cowra to the Japanese garden. We're staying out in Orange, and then we come back through to the Blue Mountains and Lura and to the garden festival there. So
that sounds like so much fun. Just let me ask you, so when you're traveling around like that, do you stay in a number of these different towns as you travel?
We do. So we would stay in, I think we have 3 nights in Bowral. And so what we'll pick a central place, and then we'll do little day trips off from that central place, and then we'll sort of pack up, and then we'll move down to Canberra, for instance. And I mean, it's a beautiful time, because when there's good rain, driving through out into the country, out into the central west, the fields are gold from the canola flowers, and it's just absolutely beautiful.
Yes.
So, and actually, Steve, just the slide before, I don't know if people are familiar with Retford House down in the Southern Highlands, but that is a beautiful property there it is, absolutely gorgeous. It was the Horden property, and James Fairfax donated that to the National Trust, and so it's managed by the National Trust now, and that's a real treat. That's one of the properties. Where there's historic houses, we'll also visit the historic houses as well as the gardens. Nice. But the focus is absolutely on the garden. And for us on that tour, we had the wonderful gardener, Rick Shepherd, taking us through the garden. So it's really fun. You get lots of tidbits when you get these lovely private garden tours with the garden. They, tell you all what's happening at the property, and so it's wonderful.
This is very formal garden, this one, isn't it?
It is. And that's what's really nice about these tours, is that you do see a variety of garden styles, and there's always plenty of tips to take away. And that's why I really love these tours with the gardeners, because they'll often give you growing tips, tell you what you're doing. I mean, I've personally learned so much. So there'll be more formal gardens. We'll see contemporary gardens, cottage gardens, American style gardens, which is one I'm going to show you.
Yes.
So what I just thought I'd quickly show you today was just perhaps 3 gardens that are a little less well known.
Very nice.
So because part of what I encourage people to do as well, that even if they don't come traveling with us, go and see these beautiful properties. I mean, a lot of these are open gardens. So, and here is one, it's a wonderful example down in the Southern Highlands. This is called Red Cow Farm, and it's just down at Sutton Forest. The owner is Ali Mentesh, and it's one of my favourite gardens on that entire tour. He is a plantsman. It's the range of perennial plants that he has is extraordinary. He's got tremendous number of, I mean, at this time of year, you can see those tulips, lots of North American perennials, and it's just exquisite. And for me, having lived in North America, it was really a lot of fun visiting there. So I love Ali's garden, and there are quite distinct rooms. Like this is his monastery garden, so you go in there and so you get an idea of a walled garden, and then he's got beautiful statues in the garden. You go out sweeping into the sort of more out into the fields. That plant on the left, I absolutely love. It's a cardoon. It looks like an artichoke plant, and it is fantastic. It's all dramatic, and one of those takeaways for me that if you want a bit of drama and simplicity in the garden, that plant is sensational. So I absolutely love Red Cow Farm, and it's regularly it's open until the end of this month. He also does have a little nursery, which is really nice, and it is so important to be able to go back to these areas. I mean, fortunately his garden was okay in the bushfires, but as we know, the Southern Highlands, unbelievably, they were so were hit badly in the bushfires. So we're all for supporting local communities as well. So I did want to show you. These are some of his spring flowers. Aren't they gorgeous? So on the left beautiful. There is a primula, and then on the right are just some of the tulips that he has. So yeah, this is a beautiful garden. I'm just going to have a look down, and then Steve, if you go to the next one, and people can actually.
Yeah, was this a slide you want?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. And so, because I did want to just show people their website as well, so they can check out a little more about Red Cow Farm and Ali and the beautiful garden that he's made down there.
One of the things I loved with seeing the primulas there and that sort of thing, it reminds me of my grandmother's yard because you know, I mean, she was born over 120 years ago. So so her garden was very much a colonial garden, and it was mainly English flowers and things that the colonists had brought over with them.
Right.
So a lot of them bring back my childhood memories.
Oh, that's lovely.
This is beautiful garden.
So, and then this is absolutely wonderful. Most people know about Floriade, and we love Floriade down in Canberra. It's sort of like Australians' Guggenhof, the Netherlands, or the Dutch Flower Festival. Yeah. This is another one that I highly recommend people go to. It is just north of Canberra, and it's called Tulip Top Gardens. And what I love about it is that there's a lot more layers than what you'll find at Floriade. So you'll have the blossoming trees, you'll have the tulips, and then there's not just tulips, so there'll be a whole lot of other bulbs, there'll be pansies, and there's primulas in there as well. And it's lovely. You can go there with your dog, you can take a picnic, you can take a bottle of wine, and it is wonderful. And if you go to the next slide, Steve.
These people.
If you could go to the next one.
Next one?
Yeah, because you know, when you visit gardens, it's the story behind the garden. And here's Sandra, and this is with Bill Roden. And what is particularly special about this garden is it's completely privately owned. They don't get a cent of government funding. Wow. And they do the most extraordinary job. So this is another garden that I like to to tell people about. And so if you're heading down to Canberra, well, not so much for this year, but next year, please do look out for Tulip Top and stop in and see what a beautiful, beautiful job they do. It is wonderful. So, yeah, so there's just some of the gorgeous cherry blossoms.
Yes, it's just wonderful.
It's honestly dreamy. It really is.
It's amazing that this is a tulip top, because this looks very much like Floriade.
It does. Yes, it really does. They've got the fringed tulips, and you can see people just having the picnic. They've got a cafe there. They have live music. As I said, it's so nice that you can take your dog. There was plenty of well-behaved canines, which was really lovely. That's a really wonderful day. And here's our group from last year with myself and Sandra and all our group under the blossoms. We had a blast of a day. It was just lovely.
It looks like everyone in the group is just joyous.
And you know what? That's the thing about garden tours. It brings together people. We have a commonality to start with. We love gardens. And we're all different, and people come from different states. They come from all over the world. Well, they do, because we also get people, we bring people particularly from states quite a lot with US garden groups. So over here. So, but it is lovely, Steve, because we inevitably all just get on, because we just love gardens. We love poking around in gardens. We love talking about plants. We love taking photographs of plants. So it's just really super.
Well, nature is just so nurturing, isn't it? Almost the same word, nature and nurture. It doesn't matter what sort of state of mind you're in when you get there, it soon disappears.
It does. And I mean, at the moment, it's just so important. And people are gardening, and that is one of the, I mean, we have to look for silver linings at these times, and one of the silver linings has been the refocus on gardening and the important sort of mental health benefits, as well as just physically getting in, growing your own food. I mean, it's and I'm very happy for the garden centres are doing well at the moment, and that's important that at least one sector is helping.
And the nice thing about this, if people are watching this on their mobile phones, they probably won't be able to read it, but people who are looking on a bigger screen will see that Tulip Tops, it's got a major exhibition from the 12th of September to the 11th of October. Now, the way things are going, domestic travel will almost definitely be open by then, unless something horrible happens. And so, if there's anyone who would like to go on a tour like this, or inquire about some of the others, then you know, we'll give some contact details later, and people can consider going. So we've only had a couple of people tell us where they're from. We've had someone from Marrickville and someone from Marsden Park, and no one else. There are lots of people listening, but hardly anyone is talking to us. So everyone, if you feel like talking, so that we can moderate the conversation, so that it takes into account the microclimate where you live, just drop it in to the Q&A box on your screen, and we'd be happy to do that for you. Okay. Oh, there's a big tulip. Oh, this is the Botanic Gardens in Mount Annan.
It is the next one. Yeah.
Yes.
This is actually just down the road from me. So I've been very fortunate during this whole stay-at-home time, and the garden has been open. It's open for exercise, and one of the wonderful things about being on the outskirts of the city is space. So it's been still very popular. People have absolutely been social distancing, but loads of people out cycling, running, walking, people working, sitting at a bench with their computers. So it's a beautiful garden. And I think it's, if you're not from the local area, often people don't know about Mount Annan, and it is just a great day out at the moment. Well, at any time. There is so much space there. The little cafe is still open, so you can still get a coffee and a little takeaway. It's brilliant to go. There's literally miles of walking tracks throughout this garden. So it's one of three. Sydney has three botanic gardens. This is the botanic garden that's very focused on native plants. So they have thousands of species, and what they've done, it's really nice. They've sort of done groups of, like, they've got a Grevillea garden, they've got a Banksia garden, they've got a bottle garden, they've got a Jurassic garden. So sort of like all cycads and dinosaur plants and that sort of thing.
Wow.
This is really fun. This is the sundial. Have you seen one of these, Steve?
No, I haven't seen a sundial like this.
This is called the sundial of human involvement.
Wow.
And so what you have to do is see that figure of 8 on the ground.
Yeah.
So you go and stand on there, and there's all these dates listed on there. So you stand on the date, you put your back to the sun, and you face the stones, and it tells you wherever your shadow falls on the stones, it will tell you the time. And of course it's accurate. So
yes.
It's just really fun.
So it doesn't have to be moved by 1 second every 100 years or something like the atomic clock. They've got to recalibrate. So we've just had Shirley has told us that she's in Henty in Western Victoria.
Hi Shirley.
Do you ever go down that way?
We do. I was lucky enough to be on a tour down there at the end of last year in our spring, and actually just before we had the travel bans, we had a group that went down for autumn down in Victoria, and absolutely love it. I to be honest, I hadn't known much about the Victorian gardens, and I am just super impressed. World-class gardens down there. And I mean, that's another sort of mission for mine of now that there is this refocus on domestic travel, is really getting people to these gardens, which, I mean, we travel to America to go and see Longwood Gardens, or we travel to London to go and see Kew. We have magnificent gardens in Australia that I would really love to, get more information out and let people know to come and visit them. And Victoria has spectacular gardens.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I mean, most of our business here at Liberty Tours is for international travel, but since people won't be able to do international travel, we're doing a lot of research and opening up tours and things around Australia at the moment. And I've had a business in Central Victoria has just contacted me in Bendigo, in fact, someone in Bendigo who said that they've got a lovely small hotel there with only 7 rooms, and they're award-winning hotel, and we're going to have a conversation next week about the activities and the gardens and that sort of thing that we'll be able to take people to down there. So yeah, what I like about this slide, which is still at Mount Annan, according to my notes here, is the fact that it actually shows natural vegetation and that sort of thing as well.
Exactly. And what's lovely about this garden is that, as you can see, it's not all manicured by any stretch of the imagination. There's a couple of areas, like at that first slide where there was that lovely sculpture, that's more at the visitor centre, that's a lot more manicured, the garden. But you get out into these wilder areas, and you can go along on these just grassy paths or a dirt path, and loads of wildlife. In fact, today I saw a family of 5 kangaroos. Nice. So they're residents. I've seen them there before. There's a tremendous amount of wildlife. If we had sound, standing here taking a photo of that the blue tree, because it's actually painted blue, it's not so easy to see in the photograph, but all around, just behind there is a gully, and it's filled with bellbirds and whitbirds. Beautiful. And so it's just, I can't recommend Mount Annan highly enough to, get your sneakers and just, bring a hat and just come and just walk around and just really enjoy it. It's a wonderful park.
In my sandy little backyard in relatively central Sydney, I live on Botany Bay, where the soil's very sandy, and I've got a huge tree in my backyard that I'm leaving because I like big trees, but it sucks all the nature, any nutrients that are in the soil are sucked out by this big tree. But a lot of it's actually deciduous, so I have no idea what it is. There's lots of stuff falling on the ground at the moment, and lots of sticks and twigs where I've had climbers that have now died off and that sort of thing. And I've broken them all up and just thrown them under the tree. And I'm actually looking forward to all the beetles and the little creepy crawlies coming in to break it down.
Nice.
And letting, whilst I like structure, I also like to see the animals come in and do their stuff as well. And these ferns, they're magnificent.
Aren't these beautiful? This is down in the Jurassic garden, and so these are coin spot tree ferns, or Cyathea cooperis, and they're just gorgeous. They tower above you, and it's just perfect that they've called this the Jurassic garden. Honestly, you can imagine the dinosaurs kind of, you know, shouldering past these ancient ferns.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful because there's a couple of little waterfalls, and it's always just full of kids, and, you know, kids dipping their toes in the water, and it's beautiful. So beautiful. I love the tree ferns and love looking up there, and it just reminds you of how calming gardens are as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm originally from Tasmania, and living in the country there, these bring back childhood memories to me, and obviously different varieties of ferns, but they're all. Royce has just asked us. He wants to know where you can show him some paper daisies.
Oh, yes, Mount Annan is one of our stops on our Spring New South Wales tour, and I'm sorry, Royce, I don't have a photograph of the Mount Annan paper daisies, but at springtime it is spectacular. Fields of paper daisies, so it's gorgeous, and we stop there on our tour and everyone gets photos taken in the paper daisies, so it's fabulous.
Wonderful. Let's just go a bit further afield and talk about the Chelsea Flower Show.
Okay. So for those of you who may not be aware, it has been cancelled this year, which would be no surprise even if you weren't aware of that. But the Royal Horticultural Society in England are incredibly resilient and resourceful, and amazingly have now created a virtual Chelsea. So it's actually going to be running in the same sort of day. So Monday is going to be a members day, and which generally when we have our tours going to the UK for Chelsea, we always go on the members day. So on the content on the website, and we can perhaps I don't know how to give this to you. Anyway, if you go to www.rhs.org.uk and then go and look for virtual Chelsea, you'll find it. But they're doing everything is virtual, which is really, I mean, it remains to be seen. It's a first for them. Yeah. So everyone is just sort of adapting and trying to work it out, but they're having garden designers take you into their own backyards to give you tours of their own gardens. They're having floral people do things. Hang on, let me read what else is happening. The 6 days of garden designers, florists, gardening personalities. There's Q&A sessions. They're going behind the scenes at nurseries. They've got stuff happening for kids. So I'm super curious to see what they do, because I know it'll be at a really high level. Chelsea is the Olympics of all garden shows. I was fortunate enough there several years ago that a friend of mine actually exhibited at Chelsea. So I was able to be there while they were building the garden, and, you know, actually could hang out there after hours. Nice. And it was just, it's really extraordinary. And the breadth of knowledge of what people do, it's wonderful. I mean, every gardener should see Chelsea once in their life. It's a must.
So once in their life. How many times have you been?
I've been 3. So.
You're lucky. That's not fair.
I know.
Yes, it's just wonderful. So all right, I want to go. I actually lived in London. I've been there twice. And my colleague said, "Have you been to the Chelsea Flower Show?" Yeah. This is our business development manager, Alex. He said he's been there twice.
Oh, very good.
I used to live in London, and I never got there. Every time I went, either the days were wrong or the tickets were sold out. A couple of times tickets were sold out when I wanted to go.
Yeah.
But I'll be back.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well, it's such a celebration, isn't it? It's all things flower in that month in London. It's wonderful.
What's your favourite part of the Chelsea Flower Show?
Oh gosh, Steve, there's so much. I don't know if I actually have a favorite, because honestly, there's so much to see. You could go several times, even like it for one show, and still see something else. You know, I like just being there with all those English people who are they're obsessed with gardens. And
Yes.
I mean, you'll be walking through the show and chatting to your friends, and you'll be standing at a display thinking you must have some world-class horticulturalist standing talking about all the plants, but it's mum and dad and their gardeners. But the level of gardening knowledge in England is at such a high level. You know, people use Latin names like, you know, like anything. It's really fun. I love that passion. And I think that's, for me, my favourite thing about Chelsea is just being involved in the passion. And you go into the big pavilions and you're talking to the store holders and seeing what's new and out this year. And it's just a great vibe. It really is.
Wonderful. And of course, once we get going internationally again, there are also lots of tours through France and the gardens of France, aren't there?
Yes.
And what are some of the other places that you go? Because we've got tours everywhere, but just tell me about the places that you go to.
Oh, sure. We go to France. We are going to the United States next year and doing a North American tour, which, you know, I'm particularly excited about, of course, because that's where I've spent a lot of time and know a lot of the gardens. We go to Mexico and Cuba, which is really fun. Yeah, that's a really special tour. We go to France. Graham and Sandra are also going to Scandinavia. They're doing the Scandi countries next year. Yeah, ending up in St. Petersburg. So, and we will be going back to the UK for a couple of tours there. We go to Italy. I mean, of course, we've got to wait and see what happens with poor Italy. They've had such a rough time. But that's usually, we would usually go to Italy every year. India is a really regular trip. So that's really different for us. So loads of places, Steve.
Yeah. We've got some, in fact, in our travelogues in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be talking about the Rocky Mountains and people traveling on the Rocky Mountaineer and the places that people stop as they go through the Rockies. So for people who enjoy those travelogues, check out our link to find out when we're doing Rocky Mountaineers. You can look there. There's so many. And so many of those other places we've got wonderful tours. Now, this slide that you put on up now with a whole lot of, I know what this was about. I was going to say that while people can't travel internationally, pretty soon what they can do around Sydney is go on your jacaranda tours.
Exactly.
Tell us.
So these are really fun. These run in November. So, of course, when it's prime jacaranda time. And so we hire a cruise ship and we will run 4 tours. We've got them running over 2 weeks. We've got them on a Wednesday and a Sunday. And you all get on the cruise ship at Banger, and then off you go, sailing around the harbour. Graham Ross narrates it, which is so fun because, you know, Graham just has this knowledge of plants. He often knows so much about like people in Sydney and who's lived here and who's done what, and, you know, all different locations. So that's a real hoot. His commentary is really fun. And, you know, the ship just takes you to where all the best blooms are on the harbour, and it's a really different way of seeing Sydney. I did one for the first time last year, and it's so interesting. And I mean, I've lived in Sydney all my life, and it was just a brilliant thing to do. Absolutely brilliant.
And these beautiful trees are from South America, aren't they?
They are.
Wow. See, that's the end of my gardening knowledge.
Oh no, you did well. Well done.
I got I got one and planted in my front yard last
Oh,
year,
beautiful.
and it was going nicely. But the gardener saw it and he was frightened it was going to get its roots into the plumbing, so he chopped it down. I was very distressed.
Okay.
but fortunately, I think he left a bit of root in the ground, because I noticed last week that it's reappeared. So,
Which will prevail.
yes, I didn't realise it would grow from the remains of a root, but I've been very fortunate on this one. So that's fantastic. So what I want today now, before we talk about our Mother's Day competition, are there other things that you want to tell us about? Because I'm about to draw out a lucky winner.
Oh, good. No, go straight into the lucky draw. I'm sure people are dying to know who's getting those. Yeah.
So our lucky winner is going to be Shirley. I've got no idea. Shirley girlie, congratulations.
Congratulations, Shirley.
Either Shirley for you or your mum. Once I close down all this, all this, we'll send you an email, ask you who you'd like your flowers to go to, the address, the message you'd like to put on it, and we'll get straight onto a florist in your area and have some flowers delivered to you. So I'm not going to thank you and send you away yet. Before you go, I'm going to talk about some of the upcoming travelogues that we're doing. Wineries of France.
Nice.
You'll definitely get to see some gardens on this trip. We're doing the Canadian Rockies, which I just mentioned. We're doing right through the Mississippi, and through the Mississippi, we'll be talking about the tours that people could do for the music, which for me, I want to do the New Orleans Jazz Festival. People can go to people can go to Gracelands, see the country and western, see the rock and roll areas, as well as all of the changing wildlife along that magnificent river. And also another place that you mentioned before, New Zealand, in the next couple of weeks. And in fact, I think we're going to go to New Zealand more than once. On the first one, we're going to talk about the ski fields are going on and getting up, above the snow line, where we just get those little bits of funguses and whatever those other things are that seem to come out through the snow and the rocks. See there. What sort of plants do you get above the snow line in New Zealand? There you go.
Oh, yikes. Gee, talk about putting me on the spot. I don't know.
Probably nothing. Probably
some pretty hardy ones. That's what I've got to
say. but for anyone who people who want to look at these travelogues, they can actually use the link that they use to register for this travelogue, because we've got a number of them on the same one. So, but what I want to do now is just, this is something that Susan put me up today for me to read. The world may be closed today, but when it reopens, there are so many wonderful places to discover or rediscover. We hope that through our Travelogue series, we can help you keep travel dreams alive. By working with our travel partners, such as Kirsty, both locally and abroad, we're also keeping different corners of the world alive in people's hearts. That is really at the heart of what we do. We want to see your photos, your memories, and your dream destinations. We've got a Facebook group that we've set up called My Holidays Abroad. It's only been going a month or so, and already lots of people are posting their favourite pictures on there. Kirsty, if you want to put some of your travels up, we'd love to see you there. And if you have a particularly great photo, perhaps we'll even use it as a banner on our website, on that group. That's a lovely one. So, Kirsty, I just want to say thank you to you. This has been an absolutely joyous experience.
Oh, how sweet. Thank you.
as we say, as soon as we get into all things flora, even flora and fauna, people's whole disposition changes.
Yeah.
And at a time especially like this, we invite people to join us on Facebook. You can have a look at our Facebook site is called Fun with Liberty Tours. Or as I say, we have our group called My Holidays Abroad. Or you can register for these travelogues again. Please come back. You'll find that we are registered travel agency, and having partners to work with where it's no work at all is just. Oh, and Shirley says thank you. Oh, Shirley, you're good. I'm glad you're listening.
Oh, thank you,
Shirley said thank you to you as well.
Oh,
She
that's
said,
so
thank
sweet.
you. She loves her garden that she's created from nothing. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh, lovely. Shirley, you should post a photo on their web.
Yes.
On the,
yes. Good. Yeah. Shirley, go to our Facebook group called
that'd be great.
My Holidays Abroad, and pretend you're abroad. and
Exactly.
And just give us a photo of your garden and share with other people. And if you want to tell them that you just enjoy being at home, then that's absolutely perfect. I don't think I've got anything else to show on this. Oh, the other one says thank you, the last one. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just say goodbye to everyone. And hope you'll join us again next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for having me, Steve.
Bye.
Bye.